Hi everybody, I'm Bennett Kottler and we're so glad that you're joining us at the Mill Creek Alliance for our very first MCA Café. It's where we occasionally get together for a short exploration of a question to better understand and manage water and environmental quality right here where we live, work, and play. The Mill Creek Alliance is a nonprofit organization in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we champion the Mill Creek watershed as a natural and community asset. So let's get started with the question of what is a watershed? A watershed is land that drains into one common outlet or one common stream, and it functions as a single system, a single ecosystem. Watersheds, like all systems, have boundaries that enclose and separate the parts of one system from the next. And in this illustration, you can see the boundary on one side and the boundary on the other side, enclosing the system where water precipitates, water falls onto the land in this area, collects in small streams and tributaries, and eventually collects into larger and larger tributaries. I'd like you to note that this watershed has two sub-watersheds. Why are they called sub-watersheds? Because the two areas drain into a single common outlet and a single stream at the bottom of the slide, and that's a very definition of a single watershed. Note that the development in the two sub-watersheds is very different. The sub-watershed on the right has farms and it's got tree-lined tributaries, and that's in contrast to this sub-watershed, which has a city, residences, and recreational fields. And I'd like you to keep in mind that different land uses result in very different water quality. This slide has a photograph of a watershed. It's an aerial photograph of the very first watershed ever studied. To help you compare to the previous illustration, I drew in the boundaries of the watershed with dashed lines and blue arrows showing you this watershed system, this ecosystem. Well, the watershed in the center of the image looks awful. And that's because it's a deforested watershed, a area where all of the trees have been cut down. It was deforested by two scientists, Herb Borman and Gene Likens, who did a controlled scientific experiment to study the ecological effects of deforestation. Yes, they learned a lot about deforestation, but interestingly, their bigger contribution was the method that they used. The method they used for their scientific experiment was the first time scientists did a large-scale experiment that included all the parts of the system. It included the trees and the animals, as in a biology experiment, but it also included the soil and water, as you might have in a geology or a hydrology experiment. Organized in a single unit in ecosystem based on the watershed approach, studying all the land and only the land that drains into one common outlet or stream, was totally new. Their systems approach created a new science called ecosystem science. This map shows the Mill Creek watershed here in southwest Ohio, where about 460,000 people live, and includes the western side of Cincinnati. You can see at its mouth the down gradient most part. It drains into the southern portion of the Ohio River. Its headwaters, which are in northern areas, about 28 miles away on the main stem in Fairfield and Butler County, as well as all of these various headwaters of the smaller tributaries that we just saw in the illustrations that collect into larger tributaries. The Mill Creek watershed has 5 sub-watersheds that drain the total area of 166 square miles, just over 100,000 acres. that include parts or all of 37 cities and villages located both in Butler and Hamilton County in Ohio. In this slide, you see a map of the United States with the Mississippi River drainage region highlighted. The Mississippi River drains 31 U.S. states, about 40% of the United States, and it even extends into Canada. You can see the Mississippi River drainage region collects water from 6 major drainage basins, and one of those drainage basins is the Ohio River Basin, which is colored in purple, and it is the common outlet for as many as 11 states. Our Mill Creek Watershed Basin in southwest Ohio, that's about here, and again, it's all part of systems that collect water and transfer them to larger and larger systems. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me. I'd like to point out, if you're interested, you might look for some additional resources. There's a very cool interactive map of the United States watersheds, and you can search for the address or name of an important place, such as your home or a national park. Keep an eye out for MCA Café videos on restoration, education, and recreation. Well, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again. You can find out what we're up to by checking out our website or going to Facebook or dropping us an email or a phone call. See you again. Take care.